Right, we reconvene following morning tea at 10:51. Please note, as Debbie has for the record, that due to a prescribed conflict of interest declaration, councillors Arthur and Plum are out of the room. Arthur was out prior to the adjournment, Plum was in, she has left. So we now return to agenda item, return in our agenda please to agenda item 325, flood damage packages 3. We will do these individually because there is different contractors recommended right through this, so we're just going to take them off one at a time. Dean, your report to us, do you have anything to add before I go to questions?
For flood damage package 3, Mr Mayor, it is quite a small package, as you can see by the value. There was 5 submissions for this tender, and 4 of them were considered conforming tenders. And yeah, the details is in the report. Nothing too much out of the ordinary with this one.
Okay, questions? Move up.
Well, excuse me, Mr. Mayor. One question I'm going to ask, the question I'm going to ask, Mr. Mayor, is if we as the council elected to go with the most expensive tenderer on any one of these flood damage jobs, would they be accepted?
Sorry,
Dan.
I was just going to say that council has the right to choose whichever tenderer they see fit, as long as they're justifying it. Got a justification reason, because we'll probably need to justify why we've not chosen the cheapest one, but that would be part of obviously why we've done that.
You have to make a statement why you're choosing that and the reasons why.
The reason for that question is how much money is allocated to these jobs when this particular flood damage package we've got between 10,000 and 284,000. So yeah, how much money has been allocated to the jobs and can it be accessed? If there's that much money allocated to these jobs, to this particular job, can the job be spread over a bigger area or something?
You want to take that, Richard?
Yeah, if you've got the figures, I just don't have the figures for these roads in front of me. They will be significantly higher than at least the tenders that are recommended. The problem being with the way QRA funding works, it's only specific for the individual site itself or road itself. It's a case of you can't use money for one road on another road. It's just the way that the guidelines are written from the DRFA. It's not a overall value to be spent across the region. It's a value for that road, and then a value for that road, and then a value for that road.
Except that if a contractor was to mobilise into the area because they got one, they then might become available for other roads. So the money can't be transferred,
No.
but the awarding of a contract could assist with mobilisation.
Yeah, so cost savings could be achieved that way, yes.
Dan, do you have that figure to hand?
Richard could have talked for another 30 seconds. I'd have been right to go.
You got it.
So
It is, but it's a small job. Abutting a road that we've already given someone work on. I think that may be where you're going, councillor. If not, it's where I was anyway.
No, Mr. Mayor, it just really queries me to think that yes, by all means, most times we go for the cheapest tenderer, but how much money has let me be blunt, how much money has the engineers allocated to that job to, when we have tenderers, forget about the really big tenderer, but the other tenderer is still $60,000 more than the lowest. There's $60,000 between the lowest and the second highest.
So, Mr Mayor, and Councillor Gleeson, the allocated value for those jobs was around, including contingency, was around $67,000.
67,000. So my question is, these roads are in the vicinity of Jericho Aramac Road. I must admit, sorry, forgive my total ignorance, but the Lockarnock Road. Oh, yeah, just that little short bit into Lockarnock. Yeah, right. So they all adjoin the Jericho Aramac Road. Who's reconstructing that? Didn't we let that tender just the other day?
Jared, no, that was one of the original ones for Michael Horn.
Jericho Aramac, yeah, it's been let
Yep.
to Michael Horn. Yep. So, I know his price is dearer. Just there, is he not?
Another question before you move on, Mr Mayor. Just I noticed variation, one contract was 10 days, one's 3, one's 2, one's 6. So there's even the time it takes to do it from 10 days to 2 days. There's a big difference in the job
Yep.
as well, which is something else to be noted, I think.
Through you, Mr Mayor. I'm just trying to understand what Councillor Gleeson's question, what I think you were asking Councillor Gleeson was that if we've been approved 200,000 flood damage for a particular road, and we've got a lot of different tenderers, and one tender's, say, for instance, 40, and another one 180, it's still why wouldn't we use that money, the higher one? We've got the money to spend, maybe doing a better job or
So
more, yeah.
to add to your point, Councillor Rogers, is really if we've been allocated 200,000 from QRA, because of competition amongst contractors, are we doing this job way less
Then what?
than what the
The
200,000
standard.
figure?
And also, that 200,000 would be remaining in the community. The justification for going for a more expensive tenderer generally is the benefit to the local community. That's one of the justifications.
This is the reverse of that.
Yeah, this is sort of, is.
Except that it could inflate prices that we then got to cop after the flood damage leaves.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Is that sort of what you were sort of getting at, Councillor Gleeson?
Through you, Mr Mayor, giving value for money and making the money go as far as it can possibly can.
Yeah.
And if there is a pool of money being allocated to a job and only, in this instance, there's only less than a quarter of that money is going to get used, where is the other 3/4 of that money going? Is that other 3/4 of that money going to be able to go to some other part of our shire, or is it going to Emerald Shire or Springfield Shire or somewhere?
Well, that's the thing. When we don't spend it, it goes back into a statewide fund for every other local government that's affected by that particular event, and then it's used for betterment. And we haven't got a dollar out of benefit, to my knowledge. Not one. So we hand millions back, and it goes.
So really competition is costing us.
Costing the community, yeah.
Yeah.
We're still getting the job done to the standard because that's what it has to be done to. It has to be done to the standard. But we're not getting any extra money floating around our community. In fact, we've got contractors that are just pricing each other clean out of existence, as we saw in the last time we had this discussion. And indeed, the range there, I mean, obviously one guy's just trying to find work. If you're submitting a tender that's 284 where everybody else is from 70 to 10, you're clearly buying work, but I would do that too if I didn't live here and I was coming to do those 3 roads. They are tiny road network roads, which I actually want to just revisit why we're calling that separately, because to my knowledge, haven't we only awarded Aramac Jericho West?
Yes.
So wouldn't those 3 roads for this package be better done at the same time as Aramac Jericho East.
So originally this package was bigger, but due to, as we released it to tender, a maintenance grade happened on those other roads. And so as contractors were going out to scope and price what the work needed to be done, there's a lot of work that had already been repaired. So as a result, we had to remove those roads out of the package, which was, sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head what they originally were, but it wasn't Aramac Jericho either.
It was a big one.
Yeah, so originally there was a much bigger road as part of this package, which was removed as works were being done as the tender process went happening.
So Aramac Jericho as a package is east, not west. Is that coming? Are we doing that shortly?
I believe that was on the list of roads that council would undertake themselves. To my knowledge.
So if we're doing it ourselves, like these roads are, one's 110 metres long of heavy formation grading and 833, so we're looking at 9.4 kilometres of grading there. Sorry, 0.94, my apologies. 0.94 of a kilometre at Eka. And then we're going across to Hotspur and we're looking at 1.8 to use round figures. And then we're going across to Locarnock and we're looking at 1.5. Wouldn't we be doing that? I just don't. It's too small, is what I'm being blunt. It's just like when we're looking at the volume of work that's got to go on. I mean, obviously these contractors don't think it's too small, but I do. What? Is there nothing else that can go with it to make it? There's not 5 kilometres of grading to do in this whole package. It's not even full. I just don't see a package of grading at less than 5 kilometres as a.
I think that's what Richard is referring to, Mr. Mayor. The original package that we went out for did include, I think it included John Robin Road as well, which had a fairly significant program, the Aramac Jericho Road East as well. We're including the original program. But because that maintenance grade was taking place, rather than pulling the entire tender, we made the decision just to remove those roads where that maintenance grade had occurred. We'll do the flood damage works on those at a later time, and then we'll do just get these ticked over, was the decision we made. It is quite small and we probably didn't need to even come to council, but it's supposed to be consistent with the other flood damage packages that we are bringing to council. We will this one as well.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm pleased that you brought it to council.
Yes, I might. Look, at the end of the day, that's just, what's that, sorry?
Was he already working here? He was under there.
No. Anyway, it's here now. The roads need doing. I just
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
probably would have seen it pulling the whole thing next
If
time.
there was a maintenance grade done there, why wasn't this done at the same time?
Kerry, do you know that?
No, well, I must plead ignorance to all these packages.
So, no, I could probably tell you because of the category of roads. They're category 3 roads, they would only get a grade every couple of years.
Yeah.
The main road that goes past is a category 1, it's actually a large road, so it's due to 1 or 2 every year. Whereas those smaller roads, and they all would have got an emergent grade, so they would have had a grade brush over. This is reconstruction, so yes, even though they're very small, they're not all entitled to a grade every year. That as a maintenance grade, that would be why. Councillor Peoples moves, second. Gleeson, those in favour? 5-0. Realistically, you can do that in a day, it's not a bad day's pay. Isn't it? You know, throw a float, throw your grader on and a roller and you drive 2 years out there. If you wait till you've had a shower of rain, you won't even need a water truck and the whole thing's done. Package 7, 326. This is for Gullah Road. Do councillors remember one of the last contracts we let in this respect was for the provision of material that has been let, and this is now for the actual reconstruction. Questions?
Yeah, I'm going to ask a question that comes up in a lot of these tenders. What is the QRA regulations or whatever you want to call it, specifications between a medium formation grade and a heavy formation grade. Because the variance in price in a lot of these between those grades is a fair bit. And some of these that are so cheap for their heavy formation grade, are they actually doing it? Is my question. It seems too cheap. But I say that not knowing what the regulations are for a heavy formation grade and what the difference is to a medium formation grade, but some of these quotes are so much dearer to do a heavy than they are than some of the other tenders.
And some are absolutely identical with respect, like you get Durac Civil's price here of $13.50. It's identical, medium or heavy formation, they don't charge 1 cent different. Obviously their unit rates is out of this world for either, but still, there's no differentiation, whereas all others, some are between $4 and $5, others are between, if you work in percentage terms, some are 150%,
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor,
some are 50.
should we close the meeting for this discussion?
How much of this report was public?
All of it, not this.
Except the table.
Not this.
Well, I guess we should, Dan, I take your point. My point of it is, I wish actually people knew what was going on. Like, these prices are just, like, what we are given, I'll go back a step, what you as officers and GBA assessing this are given versus what the contractors are doing here, it is just, the whole thing is insanity. There's no uniformity of pricing, even by individual contractors. The same contractor on different jobs is anywhere from 100 to 60% difference. Now I understand mobilisation, but when you break down the costs, and this is a big job, right, this particular road, I think the whole thing's lost. Like, I wouldn't mind talking publicly about the fact that we've got one contractor prepared to do something for $1 a kilometre and the other one's $15 a kilometre, or a metre, sorry. You know, if it's not held now, if we shut this because we do, I suppose you're about to tell me, Dan, we've got other tenders under assessment or out there open that could be affected by a public discussion, is that right?
Oh, it's just because you're discussing rates, Mr. Mayor, that's all I was concerned about, but if, yeah, happy, it was just a suggestion.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Dan, I thought that contractors could request the rates after the fact, though. Can't they get this information if they need it?
Only the winning tender, I think.
Oh, okay. I
If
thought
they're
they
big,
could get, yeah,
they can only get the price of the tender that won.
not the whole, yeah.
Just through you, Mr. Mayor,
That's correct.
probably correct for the lease. Do we have like a price of what it costs us to do this type of work?
Well, if we're going to talk about that, I definitely don't want the contractor to know what we do it for, so I will happily close the meeting in that case. I'm happy to talk about their prices, but not ours.
I'll just clarify, the question I was asking, what was the difference between a medium and a heavy formation grade? That was what I was
Yeah,
asking.
it was, but I delved into the money because the money at the end of the day is what's relevant here. Councillors, I'm happy to see a resolution to close the meeting for the purposes of discussing the rates. It's a contract matter before council. But at the same thing, yeah, 254G, same thing it'll be. I do think at some point, in consultation with a lot of other things that we need to do with the contractors, we've got to just need to sit down and go, woo guys. Like a little bit to do with, we've got fellas cutting each other's throat to win jobs here, and we're not winning, they're not winning. All we're doing is poisoning the well of contract revenue for no reason. The state and federal governments have told us to reconstruct our roads, they'd be happy to spend $68 million. We'll be flat spending 30 the way we're going. You know, we just let a tender for $10,000 where we were given 70 to do it. That's 1/7. So if you extrapolate that out, which I know is unfair, but if you pull that out, we won't spend $18 million. So the contractors have got to realise that this is, okay, it's not a get a rich quick scheme. We don't want to see artificial inflation of prices, but we've got to be fair dinkum about what it's costing. Like, to mobilise and go and do 3 kilometres of road, doesn't matter whether you live in Jericho or Aramac, it's going to cost you a bit of diesel to drive out there and back for the day. Even if you do a 14-hour day. So these prices, we've got to sharpen our understanding and contractors' understanding of what's realistic. So I'm happy to take a resolution to close the meeting for now. Councillor Peoples, seconded Councillor Hanson, those in favour? 5-0.
Well, Mr Mayor, can I?
Close, just wait.
I didn't close. I didn't close.
Takes
Councillors, do I have a resolution for agenda item 326? I'll move. Do I have a seconder? Yeah. Councillor Gleeson, those in favour? Or debate? Sorry.
Mr Mayor, I know we just had discussion in closed session, but we're going to have a serious look at workplace health and safety and how some contractors are missing out due to non-conforming. That's going to, I don't want to see any more contractors come to another meeting and people missing out who are good contractors because they're non-conforming when we know their work in the past has been great for this area.
One of the problems, I agree with you, and one of the problems with this is, as is the other flood damage packages, is they were all called at or around the same time. The decision around these has been delayed several months. These weren't called at a great period of time after the ones that we've seen, even though there might have been up to 2 months between our decision on the awarding of these. They were actually all called and responded to in very close proximity to each other. So it's not like we 2 months ago told a contractor that this is a gap in your thing and then they haven't worked with them to address it before we've considered this, because they submitted their response very close in timing to the other ones, if that makes sense. So for before future tenders of this kind are called, the conversation around accessing workplace health and safety systems from within council, and we're talking as soon as the next meeting for adopting a contractor framework to allow for that to happen. So I think the answer to your question, Councillor, is yes. We should highlight for the record that these packages have been delayed in their awarding due to a number of reasons, and therefore there's not like there was 3 months between when they submit the ones that we've already knocked back and these ones. They're not fresh.
Okay, well, the only other question I've got there, Mr Mayor, is there any more of these delayed contracts that are going to come to us and probably have this non-conforming issue?
I don't think we've got any
stage.
I'm happy with that, thanks, Mr Mayor.
I call the vote. Those in favour? 5-0. Right, flood damage package 9. I would imagine that we're going back into closed session. Are we? Yes or no? Councillor Gleeson?
Mr Mayor, regarding the flood damage package 9, maybe we should have to go into closed session, I'm not sure, but my question would be that the cheapest tenderer may not be able to do the job because there is other jobs in other areas.
Short answer to that is to do there's water availability issues where they're currently operating, and they may be able to expedite their return to this contract because there's no water in some of those areas where they're being awarded the job. Contract directly lies to the CEO and the Director of Works and myself. So I'll be even more explicit, like Monklands was going to be a major source of water for Monklands, right? Reed's got no water in that pen, and it's very important to him, so he's limited the amount of water the contractor's got available. Springton's got a similar issue, and so has, you should be answering this, Richard, sorry, but we were there, but I'm right, Minnamora even, there's a shortage there. They're the 3 roads that we awarded that contractor in the first round, and the contractor was very upfront with volunteering that if they were successful with other packages, they may return to them where they can get water and then finish these at a date, hopefully after some wet weather. Now, it did actually rain in that area in the 6 or 7 days afterwards, so they may have been able to finish some of that work like Monklands Road. Richard, what's the current status there?
So they mobilised back to Springton when they were short on water, and then that rain has delayed work since. So some works happened at Springton, but then delayed them since then.
Councillors, I think the bigger issue you have to do here, other than workforce availability, you'll want to discuss the unit rates. And because last time it was a no-brainer, that decision to discuss the variation, this time it's too close. So,
I'm moving to committee, Mr Mayor.
and second, Councillor Hanson, those in favour? 5-0. Councillors, thank you. So the resolution is that we shortlist KS Walsh and Sons Proprietary Limited, Michael Horn Transport, with an N for Transport, Debbie, Proprietary Limited, and the trustee for NA Family Trust for flood damage package 9 reconstruction, and that the CEO advised those tenderers that council would like them to reconfirm and, if necessary, resubmit their tenders. And specifically, our intent is for them to focus on the required treatment standard under QRFA guidelines for heavy formation grading and heavy formation grading incorporating material, and that the CEO provide a detailed report for our final decision at the general meeting in December. Do I have a mover for that resolution? Councillor Hanson, seconded. Councillor Rogers. Is there debate? Those in favour? 5-0. Agenda item 328. Skipping ahead a bit there. 328, flood damage package 10. So councillors, it is your preference that we shortlist the same 3 tenderers and undertake the same process, asking those tenderers to reconfirm and, if necessary, resubmit their tenders with due consideration for treatment standards and their pricing for heavy formation grading and heavy formation grading incorporating material. Do I have a mover? Councillor Rogers. Seconder, Councillor Gleeson. Any debate? Those in favour?
Sorry.
5-0. Oh,
I think you've just rewritten everything.
Yes.
It's package 9 and 10.
oh yes, that one's package 10. 5-0. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. We will adjourn for lunch. Thank you very much.